Something really bad just happened to Lamar Jackson, and it could completely shake up the MVP race. This was supposed to be his big moment, to prove he's ready to dominate the season. But instead, everything slipped away, and the guy who benefited most was the very rival he wanted to beat. What looked like a statement win for the Ravens turned into a nightmare at the very end, and now Lamar finds himself in a tough spot. Odds makers already reacted. Josh Allen's name shot up as a favorite, and Jackson's MVP chances are suddenly under serious threat. Let's break down how this game flipped the script and why it could be a huge problem for Lamar moving forward. When Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen entered the NFL back in 2018, nobody really knew what to expect. Both were seen as risky projects, loads of raw talent, but plenty of doubts. It didn't take long, though, for both to prove they belonged. They climbed quickly, earned respect, and before anyone realized, people were talking about them as two of the top quarterbacks in the AFC. What's crazy is this rivalry never felt forced. It just built itself over time. While Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs were busy becoming the gold standard of the conference, Jackson and Allen were battling to be the other guy who could truly challenge that dominance. Even though they didn't meet all that often since they play in different divisions, every time they did, the comparisons were automatic. It always felt like more than just a win or loss. It was about proving who had taken the next step. Jackson made his mark early, becoming one of the youngest MVPs in league history by his second season. Allen took longer to find his rhythm, but once he did, he turned into a machine, lifting the Bills to a level the franchise hadn't seen in decades. And even without a Super Bowl appearance yet, both have owned the spotlight in recent years, putting up massive numbers and going toe-to-toe in the MVP race. That's why every matchup between them feels like a big deal. Regular season, playoffs, it doesn't matter. Every game feels like a new chapter in their story. Jackson and Allen aren't just stars. They're the face of this era. Every throw, every run, every clutch play carries extra weight because fans know there's a battle inside the battle. Who's going to be remembered as the best of this generation behind Mahomes? And that's exactly the vibe going into their latest showdown. Baltimore had the perfect chance to prove Jackson was still the MVP favorite, that the team was ready to shake off old demons. But before we get into what happened on the field, we need to look at why this Buffalo game carried so much weight, because it felt like the perfect stage for Jackson to silence the doubters and remind everyone the Ravens were for real. This wasn't just another season opener in Buffalo. For a lot of people, it felt like a script written for Lamar Jackson. The Ravens had spent the entire offseason being hyped as one of the deepest, most complete rosters in the NFL. The buzz was everywhere. This was finally their time to turn the page and prove they could deliver when it mattered most. On the other side, Josh Allen came in hot. He'd already beaten Jackson in recent battles, whether in the playoffs or the MVP race, and he stepped into this one with the confidence of a quarterback who knew exactly what was on the line. It felt like both guys were stepping into an invisible ring, each one ready to prove he deserved the spotlight. And let's not forget, this was week 1. Everyone knows how much the opener can set the tone for the season. For Jackson, winning in Buffalo would have been a huge statement. Not only that the Ravens were legit, but that he was still the most dangerous quarterback in the AFC outside of Kansas City. For Allen, it was his chance to prove he'd officially pass Lamar in the race to be Mahomes' true rival. The atmosphere before kickoff was tense. Analysts talk about revenge. Fans called it a measuring stick game, and even odds makers reflected the pressure surrounding it. This wasn't just another matchup. This was a kind of showdown that could rewrite the story of an entire season. And that's why what happened next stung so badly for Baltimore. Because if the expectation was for a statement win, what they got instead was a total collapse. And it was a Ravens defense that took center stage in the worst possible way. With just minutes left on the clock, everything looked fine. The Ravens had the lead, the clock was their friend, and you could almost feel the taste of a big opening win. But in football, minutes can last forever. And in that short window, Baltimore's defense completely fell apart. 16 unanswered points. That's how fast it all flipped. While Jackson tried to keep the offense steady and buy his team some time, Josh Allen turned ruthless. He was sharp, he was clinical, and he didn't miss a single chance. In just a matter of minutes, a win turned into a 41-40 heartbreak loss to Buffalo. Defensive breakdowns aren't new for Baltimore, But the timing of this one made it brutal. This was supposed to be the night they showed composure and toughness in crunch time. Instead, they left the door wide open for Allen to shine brighter than ever. What should have been a statement victory turned into another chapter of frustration. The worst part? It overshadowed Lamar's performance. He wasn't the reason they lost. But by the time the headlines rolled in, the story wasn't about Jackson. It was about Allen being a hero and the Ravens once again failing to close out a big game. And that difference matters. Because in the NFL, narratives shift fast. And that's exactly what happened with the MVP race, where Allen instantly grabbed the lead and Lamar slid back into the shadows.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
Odds makers don't waste time. A primetime game like this can swing public perception in an instant. Going into the matchup, Lamar Jackson was the MVP favorite, not just because of his talent, but because of the expectations around Baltimore. But after that collapse, everything changed. Josh Allen walked away as a real winner, not just on the scoreboard, but in the story being told. He stayed calm under pressure, delivered touchdowns when it mattered most, and strengthened his case as a top MVP candidate. Within hours, the odds shifted. Allen jumped to plus 350, while Jackson dropped to plus 475, according to DraftKings. That might look like a small adjustment, but it says a lot. The MVP race isn't only about stats. It's about narrative, about how each game shapes the image of a player in the eyes of voters and fans. And in this moment, Allen looked like the guy who steps up, while Jackson got penalized for his defense falling apart. It feels unfair because Lamar wasn't the reason they lost. But that's how the league works. The NFL thrives on quick narratives, where one game can flip the conversation completely. And this loss just handed fuel to those who keep questioning whether Baltimore can actually deliver when the pressure is on. Which brings us to the bigger issue. The weight this kind of loss puts on a Ravens' shoulders, feeding into a reputation they've been trying and failing to shake for years. Every time Baltimore loses a big game, the same story comes back. The Ravens can't show up when it matters most. And this Week 1 collapse in Buffalo only reinforced that stigma. After an off-season of hype about turning the page, they fell right back into the same script. Late lead, defensive meltdown, gut-wrenching loss. This isn't just about one game in the standings. It's about confidence and reputation. For analysts and odds makers, this raises the same uncomfortable questions. Can Baltimore really make it to the Super Bowl? Can Lamar, as great as he is, truly carry this team when everything's on the line? Those doubts don't go away easily, especially when they resurface year after year. And that's the danger of perception in football. You can have talent, depth, and one of the most electrifying quarterbacks in the league. But if people see you as a team that folds under pressure, that label sticks. For the Ravens, this was supposed to be the game that erased the past. Instead, it looked like proof that the ghosts are still haunting them. Meanwhile, the contrast with Allen couldn't be sharper. While Baltimore stumbled, Allen sees the spotlight and reinforces his image as a clutch quarterback. It's the kind of win that doesn't just count in the standings. It echoes all season, giving people another reason to bump the Bills above the Ravens in every conversation. And that's the reality facing Baltimore now. The talent is there. Lamar is still one of the most electric players in football. But until they prove they can finish big games, this shadow is going to follow them. And unfortunately, it grew even darker on the very first night of the season. This game showed just how fast a story can change in the NFL. Lamar Jackson wasn't to blame for the collapse, but he still paid the price. The Ravens walked away with more doubts than answers, while Josh Allen came out looking like the quarterback who thrives under pressure and now leads the MVP race. So here's the real question. Was this just an early season slip-up or another sign that the Ravens still can't deliver when it matters most? Do you think Lamar can bounce back and reclaim control of the MVP race, or is Allen officially taken over as Mahomes' biggest challenger? One thing's for sure. This season is going to be wild, and the pressure on Baltimore has never been heavier.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself. See you there, and until the next video, go Flock.